at things very differently than most people that have not had the luxury of making hundreds of millions of dollars of mistakes.
J'ai interviewé Charley T, le Facebook disruptor. Charley, c'est un peu le Michael Jordan de Meta Ads. Il a dépensé plus d'1 milliard sur la plateforme, il faisait de la pub avant que le pixel existe, et il a un avis très tranché sur la publicité en ligne.
I think ROAS is a complete nonsense metric. Basically, a good ad account isn't what scales a business. A good business is what scales an ad account.
Charley est anti-gourou, anti-agence et anti-bullshit.
Most agencies are just heroin dealers, and you become dependent on them. And then a lot of them also have a creative shop. So now they can sell you the fix to the problem that they made.
Il déteste les hacks et les recettes miracles et mise uniquement sur des systèmes. Dans cet épisode, il va démonter tout ce que vous croyez savoir sur la publicité en ligne. Et croyez-moi, après ça, vous ne verrez plus jamais la publicité en ligne de la même façon.
I don't think anything can condition human behavior and tell people how to think and what to feel emotional about better than Facebook. Your entire business is to say that I'm okay spending 10 more euro tomorrow. And that doesn't sound like a lot. But if you can say yes for a year, you're going to be spending over 4,000 euro a day. Every business in the world that is an 8 or 9 figure business runs like that way. I just think most people don't really appreciate how simple that stuff is.
Hello, Charley. You just joined the call. Thank you so much for being here. I'm super pumped for this call. For my small and growing French audience, I will introduce you because to me it's like so obvious that you're like the GOAT. You called yourself the Michael Jordan of Meta Ads. But
Sure.
Can you give us a little introduction about yourself and maybe I'll add sprinkle some info here and there.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, my name is Charley. I've been running ads for over a decade on Facebook. I've spent over $1 billion on the platform. I've worked with the engineering team to build out what the ads actually look like. I was one of the first people in the world to run lead gen ads. I helped develop catalog and CBO and dynamic creative. I was on the team that helped put together the Power 5 back before Performance 5, back before Advantage. Plus, I've been around the horn. I've done all the things. And I've worked agency side, client side, brand side. And I have kind of been there and done it all. And I will say that ultimately, my number one focus is helping people understand how the machine works so we can leverage the engineering team to do all of the hard work for us so that we can work less and make more money. And almost everything I do is grounded in the principles of business fundamentals and machine learning. So you will probably hear me say a lot of things that are completely against what you've heard almost anybody else say. And that's why those people's clients eventually become my students and eventually get to the places that they want to be.
I mean, you call yourself the disruptor, so that must be for a reason. From what I know from you, what I've seen from your various contents, I wouldn't say it's even a positioning. I think it's your philosophy that, as you mentioned, you are about amplifying what works, a business model, using a machine to the best of its power to help it. And I would say, or I would ask, what would make you say that you are a disruptor? Like, what are you against, basically?
Yeah, I mean, part of that just comes from, I was one of the original people in the disruptor group at Facebook. And funny enough, when the disruptor group was getting founded, it was just sort of half the people in the room were my students. And so it's just this incredible little space. But since then, it's really taken on a life of its own. And I think if I had to simply put most of the things that I think, one, I don't care about creative hit rate. I think ROAS is a complete nonsense metric. I think simpler account is a better way to go. I invented the one campaign method, and almost everybody you see on the internet hating on it does it wrong and then tries to sell you to be solutions to be dependent on stuff. And a bit of me is a bit of a punk rock ethos. I aggressively call out people that I think are really bad not because they're not good, but because they know what they're doing is low integrity, and I expose them for what they do. And I've done that on a pretty consistent basis. There are a lot of folks in the space who are successful that don't like me because I make it so their clients don't need them. And for me, I think that means I'm doing good in the world. And I'm coming from a place where I can do that because I've been successful in my efforts, that I don't need people's money. And that means I can undermine low integrity operators. And I've also just been there and done that enough that I understand what actually matters. And so that generally means that I look at things very differently than most people that have not had the luxury of making hundreds of millions of dollars of mistakes. And I've learned a lot of lessons along the way.
Oh, I guess so. And I think I have so much still to learn from you. I think that what you said about your various experience and that you've seen things several times, so makes me want to ask you about basically your journey as a meta ads expert. We all start somewhere. Like, what were your first experiences, and how did you come from, maybe started even in marketing to now being in a place where you can teach people and help them achieve bigger goals using ads?
Well, before ads existed on Facebook, I was a radio personality and a touring musician. And so I got really good at promoting myself. Eventually people paid me to promote them. And I ended up getting a couple college degrees. I have a 4-year degree in business management, and I have a 6-year degree in marketing and marketing management. So I have a great bit of education in that space. And then I started an agency, and I won some big business. And my business partner, as soon as we signed on the dotted line for some very high ticket companies, he fired me, and I was very upset by it. But he was my co-founder. He was the attorney and the guy with the money. I was the smart guy, and he's like, okay, great. Now that we got everything, I can fire you and hire 10 more smart people. And so that hurt. And so I started another agency, and I was doing organic growth hacking, and I was doing stuff in 2012, 2013, stuff like that. And again, my biggest client fired me. And he's still a friend of mine to this day. And he basically said, hey, he was paying me $2,000 a month. He said, I put $100 into Facebook last night. And it did more for me than the $2,000 a month I get from you. So he's like, hey, I'm going to pay out the contract. No harm, no foul, but I'm just going to go do this thing. And I was like, okay, that sucked. And so I went out that night, and as a sober guy, I don't have a lot of things, so I just ate a shit ton of ice cream and other things. I just carbohydrate therapy, and then put my credit card into Facebook. Started promoting my band the next day, and within 3 months, I was running ads for a couple, like an international cruise line and a national restaurant chain in America. Within 6 months, I was doing ads for like Comic-Con and anti-smoking stuff, and within 9 months, I was running ads for Nissan for America, Levi's, Activision, working with Apple, multiple television stations. I got a job as a supervisor of paid social at a very evil international conglomerate ad agency. And as somebody who'd been running ads for 9 months, I had more experience than anybody in the room. We had $1 million daily budgets, and nobody had any clue what was going on. And nobody gave a damn about Facebook. They were all interested in Yahoo email banner ads and like just dumb stuff like that. So I had these incredible budgets of like, I think 1 week I spent $17 million. And in 1 week. And my bosses didn't understand what I was doing. And the businesses just knew the clients knew that the accounting had said, we need to do this. Because it had written off on the check. Basically, nobody understood what I was doing. So I didn't have a boss. I had no oversight, and I had crazy budgets. And at the time, there was one Facebook rep for everybody on the West Coast. And whenever that Facebook rep came to the office, I had nothing to do. So we just hung out, became good friends. And then I got to know the head of the engineering team and the product team and the measurement team. And I was just constantly running split tests and constantly running different things to try to overcome issues. And I was really good at writing case studies. So I just got millions and millions of dollars from Facebook to test products because I was one of the only guys that was willing to take the money to do something, and one of the only guys that had a 6-year college degree in how to execute that test properly. And so it was just this perfect perfect combination of crazy high budgets, almost no oversight at all, and a complete willingness to just do proper scientific method testing. And that was like 2013, 2014. So from there, I got fired from that agency and I went next door, and I basically worked at every single ad agency in LA. I never held a job for more than 9 months. Every time I got hired in a new place, I was like the whiz kid that everybody took under their wing and showed them all the secrets. 3 months into the job, they realized they should probably fire me. And it took them another 3 to 6 months to actually get the human resources department to legally let me go. And then I would find another job. Like the next day, I would just knock on the next building on the street and be like, can I work? So I got to learn from the smartest people in the room in a dozen rooms. And I don't recommend that as a path for anybody. But when you're spending 10 million bucks a week, 15, 17 million bucks a week, and you have no oversight and everybody thinks you're brilliant, or everybody is willing to give you all the secrets to the trade and then let you go. It was the craziest apprenticeship possible. And then eventually I was able to go brand side and get some 8 and some 9-figure exits. And I don't know. It's a very weird path. I don't recommend getting fired as like the path to success for anybody. But it worked for me at a time when the money was much bigger than the opportunity or the interest. So I was just the right guy at the right place at the right time. And I'm very, very lucky for that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that you were fortunately at the right place at the right time, also with the right skills because of this scientific approach that you could use and apply to this budget and case studies. So even though you discourage it, I don't think anyone would have the opportunity today to to have such a journey because it was so special.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in the world today. I'm like probably one of like 5 people in the world that just were dumb lucky to be so bad at their job with a thing with so much money and no oversight. I don't know. It was crazy, but I tried to make the most of it. And the only way to not be bored was to just try new things all the time. I just aggressively leaned into failing as often as possible. I remember one time in particular, I wasted nearly $20 million of Activision's money. And Call of Duty was still the #1 game. And I was like, oh, my job doesn't even matter. I'm just going to have fun. And like, that was amazing. And that was, 2015. So it's been a wild ride.
Oh yeah, like a small mistake of $20 million is something I didn't have the opportunity to make so far, let's say.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I think about it. I will never see that kind of money in my life. And these people basically lost it on the side of the road one week and just went on about their lives. Wild.
So
wild.
Maybe it was obviously it was a particular time for you, but still the fact that you went from let's say brand side to agency side, maybe back and forth and in different places. The thing I wondered is from these various experiences that you had, like, what did you learn the most? What did you see, let's say, behind the curtains, the thing that most people don't have access to and that you learned? It might be like skills, but it can be also like a thing that people are not supposed to know. What did you learn?
Yeah, I think the number one lesson that I learned was what my job actually was. And I think that's different for everybody. But if you're a media buyer at an ad agency, your job is not to do good work. Your job has nothing to do about the financial impact of your day-to-day. Your job is to make the person who writes the check look good to their boss. That's it. If you are the media buyer in a company, say you're the Facebook guy and there's a Google guy and some woman's running email and somebody else is on customer service or whatever, your job is not to get the highest ROAS possible. Your job is not to get the best return you can. I think a lot of people think it is. If you get a 3x return on your budget, my immediate reaction is, why aren't you spending twice as much at a 2? Why aren't you spending 4 times as much at a 1.5? Like, why are you wasting my time and money? If you're so efficient, all you're doing is saying that you're making it harder for everybody else to be successful, because Facebook sits at the top of the marketing funnel. I think the Facebook media buyer's job is to make everybody else on the team look good. If you do your job right, search volume will go up. Emails get easier. Conversion rate optimization choices get simpler. And everybody in the business ultimately is successful in a way that gives you a larger budget. Basically, a good ad account isn't what scales a business. A good business is what scales an ad account. And your job as the operator of an ad account is to amplify what the business does the best and to aggressively avoid liabilities wherever it's not the best investment. And I think that's a lesson that I was only able to appreciate because I was negotiating for $1 million contracts, and I've been on the brand side when they went from 15 million to 100 in 2 years. I worked with a brand taking them from 50K a month to $1 million a week in like a year and a half. Like, I've done all of those things, and at the end of the day, the only person that cares about the Facebook report is the person that signs the check for the person that runs the Facebook ads. The finance department doesn't care. The investment bankers don't care. The customers don't care. And I would argue that the finance department and the customers are way more important. The financiers of the business, the investors, way more important than the ego of the person who's showing up for a salary job. And unfortunately, I think there are a lot of people that become very successful in this space because they have a big ego and the ability to project confidence. And I think the most popular folks that I see giving the worst advice are the ones that are most successful at taking credit for everybody else's work and saying it in a very confident way that ultimately makes the media buyer look better and better while the business struggles and ultimately and to not fail. And I think that's the biggest lesson, which was very difficult to appreciate. Basically, my job was to look bad to make everybody else look worse. But when you learn that that's the goal, then you embrace it, and then you get really good at your job.
I'm at a stage where I grew to learn that what I used to say is truth lives outside of the business manager. So the figures that you see, they are just it's attribution. It's it lives on top of the funnel. So basically, what does that mean? If at the end of the day you don't grow the business, so with your experience, like you take more a higher view and see that basically it's just one part of the equation of growing a business, and it's acquisition.
Yeah, I think Facebook ads are essentially just a business model amplification device. And the more efficient your ads are, generally what you're doing is allowing more profitable channels to get less volume. And if you can make a sale on Google for $10 and a sale on Facebook for 50, anytime you get that sale on Facebook for 40 or 35, you're just getting less sales someplace else. Ultimately, business is about leverage. It's the gap between CPA and average order value times the volume of transactions. And your job is to amplify the opportunity for the easiest money to be leveraged. And almost always that means that you should probably run your Facebook less efficiently to reach more people, to have a more informed machine with a more singular audience type so that all of the decisions become much easier. And that generally means you have to do everything different than what most people say, which is fun for me. I just take joy in that stuff.
Because you said that the job of an operator, let's say, is what you said. Now the question I have for you is not what's your job, you Charley, but like what are your activities? I know that you are focused on the teaching stuff on YouTube. You have a school. Do you have any other activities? Like basically, what do you do?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm an equity partner in some brands, and I can. So my hands are in the business in those spaces, and so that's always a fun thing. I do some consulting with some businesses, but not a lot. Primarily just because it takes time, and my bills are paid. I mean, I have a house in LA, I have an apartment in Manhattan. I'm doing okay. So it's not about making more money. It's about spending as much time as I can with my kids. I have a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old. I work about 3 to 4 hours a day. So for me, that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority of it is I find joy helping other people find confidence and success. So that makes me feel good when I go to bed at night. And I do a lot of that with YouTube, to my community on school, which I've been running since before school. It's now been, that's where I've taken it. And then there's some software that I built that helps people out with some stuff, answering questions that just nobody else has answers to, solving problems that most people don't know that they should be even looking at. And I'm just trying to make my goal of helping people be more successful, provide for their families, work less, and create jobs. I just try to make that something I can do as efficiently as possible for as many people as possible. Because I find that ultimately makes my life more enjoyable. And for whatever reason, the more I've leaned into that, the easier it's been to see more money each year than the year before. And I honestly, I don't think I've ever worked less. And I'm doing okay on the bank account side. I'll put it that way. So it's great. Which also
Congrats
means
to you.
thank you. Yeah, which also means, I run my own ads. I'm in ad accounts all the time. I do everything, but I have this blessing of clarity and purpose. And I've just, by happenstance, been in a place where I can leverage it for as much good for other people. And it seems like the more good you do for other people, the better your life tends to be. At least that's my experience.
I've been following you for quite some time now. So I can also tell from your approach, your philosophy, I would say, that was pretty consistent. In maybe it evolved and got up to date with the market and the new methods, but the message is still there. I don't know if you remember, but some videos that you made, you didn't have such a nice background. You have like a white blanket.
Oh, yeah,
behind.
like the white sheet. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, I
yes.
remember. Yeah, absolutely.
And I still remember that you were talking about stuff that you keep preaching today. And I would like to talk about this, like basically the disruptor method. I know that there are some key concepts that you keep using because they make sense as an operator, but also business-wise. So The question I have for you is, can you tell us a little bit more about the Charley's must-have toolkit, asterisk, as a media buyer?
Yeah, so a lot of this is like 322 ads, focusing on GPT, PSM, one campaign method, all of these things that I've invented over the years. So to start with, I think what we have to understand is, what is the most important thing we should be investing in? I think a lot of people look at, well, like, how can I make a sale? And I think you shouldn't be looking at ads as how to make sales. You should be looking at ads as how do you buy customers. The difference between making a sale and getting a customer is anybody can trick anybody into buying something once. You can even make a good profit at it. But getting somebody to want to come back and buy from you again and again is much easier to grow your business with, because the first sale is the most expensive. And a simple analogy that I use a lot is, I might be able to make a salad for a 20%, for a 20x markup. Let's say it cost me €1 to put a salad together, and I sell it for 20 because it's a bougie salad and I got a fancy restaurant. Okay, now that's quite the salad for €20. I make 19 profit every time. You're never going to come back for that salad. But I made a lot of profit on you today. But let's say I sell you the best filet mignon you've ever had and I break even. And you come back 5 times and bring 3 friends every time you do and buy a bottle of wine and all the other stuff. I only had to pay for you to come that first time. Every other time after that, you're coming back to me essentially for little to no cost and adding more and more value to my business. And I'd much rather focus on that. I'd rather sell the steak than worry about the sizzling hot profit on one sale. I think a lot of folks say, well, I have to be first order profitable. And that tells me you don't run a good business. And so a lot of the fundamentals that I talk about are, how do we acquire cash flow in the simplest way so that it's the most projectable? So we talk about a one campaign method. The one campaign method, and there's a lot of versions of them out there, of people kind of taking what I've done and then doing it poorly and saying it doesn't work, which is what I see a lot on YouTube, which I think is hilarious. And I try to find more of those videos and then do reaction videos to them. Whether it was Chase or Ben or Sam, those videos tend to do pretty well. And I kind of like, well, here's how you did it wrong. I have one with Jeremy Haynes coming out this weekend. The idea is, what's the simplest way of acquiring a customer who's likely to spend money with you more than once? And if you break even, let's say that customer comes back in 90 days. Let's say 20% of people who buy again on day 90. I can break even for 90 days. And then on day 91, I'm making 20% profit. So I can take some of that additional money and add it into getting more new customers. My ad spend can start to go up. And as my ad spend goes up, it goes up faster and faster on a regular basis. Now that's a great problem to have. Now you might need to be a bit more aggressive in those first 90 days just to not go out of business. But as soon as those people come back, anything you do in your business that gets in the way of making that flywheel move faster makes no sense. Like, you're like, okay, well, this is the path to make more money. I'm going to go over here and just lose it. Like that. Most of the strategies that I see from people is a very complicated, time-consuming way of getting a worse result. To work harder with a less stable outcome. And for me, that makes no sense. So the one campaign method is, we put everything into one campaign, one Facebook campaign for each business objective we have in the business. The campaign wins the auction, chooses which ad set to spend on. So we use a CBO. And the ad sets choose which ad to spend on. So the fewer moving parts that you have, the more consistent the choice that is made by the machine is, the more consistent the people that see your ads are, the more you are able to understand how to improve search because everybody looks the same. The more you're able to improve email flows because everybody's buying for the same reason. The more you're able to improve CRO because everybody's coming to your site for the same motivation. If you have 20 ads or 100 ads, first off, the machine's never going to be able to understand how to best show it to people. And second, you're getting a whole ton of people buying for a whole ton of reasons. So any win you get on CRO in one place makes other ads fatigue. And it's not that it's ad fatigue, it's just operator error. So part of it is the simplest machine that allows me to spend more money tomorrow. And I was dealing with a brand earlier today. They're spending about 500 euro. They've never gotten past 2,000. So I told them, let's make an automated rule that adds 10 euro a day. Your entire business is to say that I'm okay spending 10 more euro tomorrow. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot. But if you can say yes for a year, you're going to be spending over 4,000 euro a day. So if you simply want to be in a place where you're doing twice as good as you've ever done, the only thing everybody in the company has to do is functionally rally around the idea of how do we always say yes to 10 more euro tomorrow? Like that makes everything in the business extremely simple. So what's the best promotion? What's the best offer? What's the best thing? And then that ultimately gets us down to, well, part of that is the best ads. And so that's where we use the 3-2-2 ad. So a lot of people guess with ads. They throw headlines and hooks and copy and creative and all of this stuff to try to focus on CTR or hook rate or all of this other stuff that has nothing to do with money. So before Flex ads, we had dynamic creative, and that was we would use 3-2-2. Now in Flex ads, we still do the same thing. That is 3 creatives, 2 primary texts, and 2 headlines. That means that's essentially 12 ads, but it exists as one ad unit. So every impression from any one of those permutations collects in the same place. It's essentially a dynamic landing page that changes based on how somebody wants to see it. It's like JavaScript on a website that says like, welcome Charlie or welcome anybody else, right? So with that in mind, if we use much smarter ads that are very simple, and the reason we do 3-2-2 and not a 5-5-5 or something like that is because the permutations in a 3-2-2, it's enough for us to say which headline was better, this one or that one. It's binary. One of them is better than the other. And for creative, we know creative is really important. And if you have 3 creative, either one of them is going to take all the budget, or one of them is likely to take far less than the other 2. It's very rarely even all the way. And that basically just means it's the most important thing. So it's the one place we're going to be more complex than good or bad. It's the only place that it's not white or black. And then what that means is we're able to understand, is this ad good or bad? Because if it earns spend, what happens to if we have that ad in our one campaign and we have a few moving parts, maybe there's 5 of those in the campaign. If we launch a 6th one and we don't change the budget and it gets spend, that means another ad is getting less spend. So the machine is deciding to change the way it serves impressions. It's changing the way it shuffles the deck. And Andromeda is basically about what's the best way to shuffle the deck to show the right ads to the right person in the right way to create as many incremental journeys as possible. That's all Andromeda ever did. That's the only real change, which means for anybody optimizing for be the last touch point, everything fell apart because basically you were running a bad business to begin with, or you were running the ads the wrong way. So if I have 5 ads and I launch the 6th one as a 3-2-2 and it earns budget, I'm immediately able to say, well, what did it take budget from? And what happens to my bank account because of that? What happens to the attributed results on the platform? If I run it for a few days, what happens now that the performance shifts? What happens to search volume? What happens to the conversion rate on the landing page? What happens to email open rates on my flows and stuff like that? It becomes very, very easy in a matter of days to understand if this is good or bad for the bottom line. I don't care what the return on ad spend is. I don't care what the CPA is. None of that matters. All that matters is, does this give me the ability to say yes to spend more money tomorrow? When before the answer might have been a no. If the answer is yes, it's a win. And I think a lot of people think creative testing is about finding the post ID or the winning ad. I think creative testing is, does it allow me to spend more? And then it's not a test of, oh, it's a winning ad. It's how much more can I spend because of this win? And I think a lot of people look at ads as like ROAS, return on ad spend, like how much credit for everybody else's work. Of all the money that comes in, how much credit do I deserve? And I'd rather look at it as, because of my work, how much more money can we all make? Return on ad spend isn't about adding more. It's about taking more credit. Versus this methodology has very few moving parts. Most people, when they run tests, if they got 20 ads and say, oh, this ad's a winner. Okay, well, that ad won, and then 5 other ads started to lose. Did you get any better because of it? Maybe for a day, maybe not, who knows? But this style makes it very, very easy with ads that get better over time. Because you're not guessing, so every permutation of any one of those variations of a 3-2-2, whether they win or lose, make the entire thing smarter. And then from there, we have 2 other financial principles that I work on a lot. One of them is PSM, profitable scaling margin, which is basically, simply put, it's LTV divided by CPA times the number of transactions. So it's basically saying, let's say the LTV is $200, and with CPA and COGS, it costs me $50 to make a product in a sale. And let's say the average person buys 2.5 times. That means it costs me $125 to make 200. So I have a profitable scaling margin, which is the 200 divided by the 125. It's probably not the best example because that algebra is a little, that fraction isn't even. But you get the idea. Yeah. Let's say it's 2 instead of 2.5. Okay, so now it's 100 to get 200. Profitable scaling margin is 2x. Even if I lose 80 cents on the first sale, I know I'm going to double my money at the end of that customer journey. Awesome. So as long as I'm able to spend more money tomorrow because my business is good, all I need to do is find where is the greatest profitable scaling margin, because that tells me the place where I have the most ability to be less efficient. And all you're doing is trying to find, where are you too efficient? Where are you so good that you could add volume to be less effective? Where are you getting a 3x ROAS where you could double the spend and come in at a 2.5? So you're essentially making way more money, but each dollar spent or each euro is less profitable, but on way more volume. At the end of the day, it's about volume of profit. That's all that matters. How much more money do you have? And then we also use so I use that to really evaluate like customer journeys and hero products. Like, what's the best thing? And I have a tool, Disruptor Tools, that one of the parts of Disruptor Tools that I have in my software company kind of maps that stuff out for you, which is really helpful to make it kind of easy. It tells you when somebody buys this product, what's the most likely, how long until they buy again, what is the thing they're most likely to buy, and what is the average order value of the first and second purchase. So now you can just say, well, if I want to scale my business, instead of a profit on day one, what's likely the most profitable customer journey between the first and the second touch point? And then, like, that's a much more scalable business. Even if you make less money today, it's the business that gets you the greatest amount of cash flow, the greatest amount of money from repeat customers. And if you have to rely on only people buying once from you, Jeff Bezos already beat you. That is a losing game. Sun Tzu would be very upset with you for picking a battle that you cannot win. But cash flow is the life of business. You ever watch Shark Tank or Dragon's Den or anything like that? They talk about cash flow, right? Like, what does it look like to get money into the business? A healthy business is simply defined as the amount of money you make from people where it's not the first purchase goes up every month or on a consistent basis. That's a healthy business. If that number doesn't go up, you have an unhealthy business. And the way to think about it is, what if your entire ad spend was a percentage of the budget from repeat customers? So let's say you're making $25,000 a month on repeat customers. I'm not saying you have to have a subscription product, but let's just say on average, repeat customers account for $25,000 a month. Well, if you spent $10,000 a month on ads and it only came from those repeat customers, all you need is next month there's 26,000 or 30. And then the 10,000 becomes 11 or 12. And the business gets bigger. That's the only thing you need to solve for. So that's what PSM does. And then I have this concept called GPT, which is just an very old business principle, which is average order value minus CPA. What is the gross profit per sale? I was working in a business. I did a case study on YouTube last week. I posted it. And we talk about how the ROAS was like a 1.6 on like 7. I was showing the ROAS numbers in the GPT on a bunch of Facebook ads. And some ads were like a 1.3 to a 1.6 ROAS. And there'd be a 1.6 where we made $3 per sale and a 1.6 where we made 80 per sale. And the point is the ROAS number has nothing to do with how much money you actually make. And so if you want to be more successful, you want to make more money, start focusing on how much money you make. I mean, it kind of feels like it's pretty straightforward, but it's very disruptive to say that ROAS doesn't mean anything. And that's how I really focus on businesses. And I think it's really exciting. I have a video coming out next week on YouTube that'll show, I have a tool that'll actually go into your ad account where you can upload your ads for you. And it'll just tell you how aggressively do you want to optimize. Here's all the ads to turn off so you get better. And I think I'd say 80% of the people that I work with on my first and second time working with them, like when I roast the ad accounts and whatever else, my number one piece of advice is here's every place that you're losing money. If you just moved from investing where you lose money to where you make money, you'd make more money. Or if in one place you make a 5% return and in another place you make a 50% return, every time you make 5%, you lose 45% profit. So just focus on where you make the most money. And it's shocking how disruptive and like how much pushback I get from people like, well, I can make money here, here, and here. Okay, great. But these two don't make as much money as that one. How much money do you want to lose by not doing what's best for you? How much harder do you want to work to make less money, to make everybody else's job in the business more difficult? Because you want to support anything that can be profitable versus the thing that makes you the most money. And so those are always kind of fun conversations to have. So that's really, I think, the overarching principle. It comes down to those pieces. And that doesn't mean you can only have one campaign. Sometimes you have multiple. But you need to have a business objective with a clearly defined goal. That is what is most beneficial to your business, so you understand where best to spend your money. And that might look like a hero product that is the most likely to drive a second purchase within a timeline that is good for you and is profitable. You have another campaign that's like a catalog ad campaign, specifically to just suppress the CPA across all blended things. Because it doesn't matter how profitable you are on the hero, if your blended CPA gets too high, that's a problem. But if you want a catalog ad to just clear out a bunch of cheap sales, you don't have to be as good on your hero offer, because at the end of the day, how much money did you spend? How many transactions did you get? That's your CPA. How much money did you make? How many transactions did you get? That's your AOV. How many sales did you get? You multiply AOV minus CPA times sales, that's how much money you made. However you get there is fine. Each piece doesn't need to live on its own. And you might have a third campaign that's just optimized for the greatest profit volume per sale. It might be your bundles and your upsells and the most expensive shit you got. And it's the most profitable today, even if there isn't future cash flow. Because sometimes you're lining up future cash flow. Either your AOV is too small so you can't scale up your hero, or your CPA is too high so you can't scale up your hero. So you have a CPA suppression, AOV lift, and then all those things operate solely to get more people who are going to buy again. Every business in the world that is an 8 or 9 figure business runs like that way. I just think most people don't really appreciate how simple that stuff is. And yeah, so that's kind of the way I look at it. And has absolutely nothing to do with ads, has nothing to do with attribution or targeting or any of that bullshit. It's make it as simple as possible, let the machine do all the work, and then your job is to make that choice a good one.
In my question, I added a small asterisk saying, as a media buyer, even though I knew perfectly that we would steer away from media buying only, because basically when you talk about PSM and GPT, they are ways to translate ad spend and other things into a business reality, what strikes me in your approach as counterintuitive is that you are first, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically looking at where are the biggest and lowest efficiencies and how you can reduce them, because you already have this margin of operation, and so let's focus here. Whereas people do the opposite way. They are looking at where it's the most difficult and how to make this more profitable, even though the rest doesn't work, because they have like this, let's say, quick dopamine loop of ROAS increasing. So that's how I see it. Now to my question, it would be, you said you roast ad accounts all the time. So an example would be like focusing on the ROAS. What are like the things you see all the times that are basically wrong and kill performance and are like detrimental to the overall business?
Yeah, so inside of my community on school, Disruptor Academy, we once a month pull up businesses to do ad account roasts. People just share their screen and we dive into it, and it's basically like me auditing your business for you. Every one of those calls starts with, how does your business make money and what's your biggest problem? I think one of the biggest concerns is people don't know how their business makes money. They say, well, we sell things. That's not an answer to the question. How does your business make money is, the way you should answer that is, well, we get people to buy this item because they're most likely to buy again and again and again, and we make money on the additional sales. Or we acquire leads to sell through newsletters for high ticket sales. Like, you need to have the funnel figured out. And it's not about the last touch. And then I also ask people what their biggest problem is. And I think people have a lot of problems they want to solve. And for me, all I want to do is get better tomorrow. Directional improvement, if it happens every single day. If you're always getting better every single day, it's hard to get worse. So what's your biggest problem? What's the one thing that's most difficult? If we just make that better or remove our reliance on that thing, then we can spend money where efforts are better for us. And so I think some of the biggest mistakes when I see people in their ad accounts is they've got 4 or 5 campaigns promoting multiple offers. And ask them why. Well, because they're all profitable. Okay. Do you know that people are actually buying that offer? And they say, well, no. There's a purchase. It's a purchase for this AirPod case, and it's a purchase campaign for this cell phone case. Okay, but do you know when somebody clicks on the cell phone case ad that they're buying the cell phone case? I'm like, well, that's the ad. But sure, but I might see a billboard for a Big Mac at McDonald's and go and buy a shake and fries. There's no correlation between what's in the ad and what somebody buys. And when people start to look at the average order value of their products, they'll see every single ad in their ad account has a different average order value. If you sell 2 things, no ad has the same AOV as another one. Meaning none of those customer journeys are the same. And some ads are better at getting people to spend more money, and some ads are better at getting people to spend less. And then the gap is, well, which one's most profitable for you? And it has nothing to do with the CPA. It has nothing to do with the ROAS. 5x ROAS on a $20 CPA is $100 AOV. That's $80 profit. 2x ROAS on a $100 CPA is $200 AOV. That's $100 profit. If you're making the same amount of sales, why not spend on the thing that lets you spend 5 times more and make you more money on every sale? Because that's also 5 times more money spent amplifying search and email and more traffic to your site to make all of the other things work. Whoever can spend the most money to acquire the customer wins the game. It's not to make a sale. It doesn't mean you need to lose money in the business. But I think most people don't know that stuff. Most people don't focus on that thing. And so that mistake, while it's really common, I call it the farmer versus the hunter mentality. Hunter is just trying to survive today. Anything they can do to look good. And a farmer is willing to grow crops because they know how that cash flow cycle is going to work. And maybe a farmer needs a hunter until the corn grows But as soon as the wheat and the corn or the cabbage or the celery, whatever they're farming, as soon as it bears fruit, they never need the farmer ever again. They never need the hunter ever again. People lived in caves for hundreds of thousands of years. As soon as they learned how to farm, we built empires. I'm in the empire building business. That means we have to farm. That's cash flow. One farmer can feed 1,000 hunters. I want to be that guy. And that means that we work on how do we acquire cash flow. So I think the beauty of that problem is that almost everybody makes it. And it's really easy to fix. The simplest way of solving that problem is to just start shifting budgets from what doesn't work to what does, or what isn't as good to something that's better. And that example that I gave earlier about that business that is trying to just add $10 a day. I had a call with them today in my high ticket training program, the Meta MBA. And I literally told them, you've got like 10 campaigns going. Take $2. No, sorry, you have 5 campaigns going, or 6. Take $2 a day or €2 a day from the 5 that you don't want to spend on anymore, and add 10 to the one that you do. You'll spend the same amount of money, but one of them is spending like €100, another spending like 300. So it might take some time, and obviously you could move faster. But I'm just trying to make it very simple for this person, right? -2 in 5 places, add 10 in the other place. There's no change at the bank, at the credit card level. Mm-hmm. But that means every day you're making more money. And that's a very small change to how the machine is using the ads. So we can consider our performance. We can essentially assume that our performance is going to remain fairly consistent. Now, let's say one of the campaigns is spending $100. Well, in 50 days, it stops reducing $2 a day because there's just no more money left. Yep. Well, that means we're now only taking 8 away, but we're still adding 10. Well, after 2 or 3 months, all of the campaigns that we're taking 2 away from, they're dead. And so we went from having no change, just starting to add budget $2, $4, 6, 8, 10 euro a day. And then by the end of it, they're going to be spending 4,000 a day. As long as they can. I mean, it might break at some place, but that makes every choice in the business easier. And it's a much simpler way to dramatically improve what you're doing. And while you're doing that, there's no harm as you pull budget away from things. Also turn off the worst ad or turn off the bad ads. Simplify the places you're pulling away from while you're making the place you're going better. And that is usually just such an easy way, especially if people are coming from ad agencies that are talking about creative packs every week, or like swim lanes, or 10 different campaigns, or cost caps, or launching 20 ads on a regular basis. Like, just taking your business from an agency that has produce an unsustainable model that makes you dependent on them, like a drug dealer. And I say that as a heroin addict with 13 years clean. Most agencies are just heroin dealers. And you become dependent on them. And then a lot of them also have a creative shop. So now they can sell you the fix to the problem that they made. And then they set you contracts that are 3 months, 6 months, a year long. So now you're locked in. And it usually takes a while to realize what's going on. And to be fair, those results are better early on because they're just clearing the funnel. They're more aggressively taking advantage of the opportunity you have, but they're doing it faster than they create more opportunity. The amount of times I see people go to these cost cap agencies or YouTube guru agencies, and everything's great for like 45 days. They sign the next 3-month contract. And then by month 3.5, everything is terrible and they can't afford to get out of it, but they can't afford to stay. So they essentially pay the agency to not work on the account. I get 2 or 3 people like that a week. And the fix is always the same thing. Almost always. Just remove the stuff that wastes money. Fire your bad employees. Give your good employees more support and more opportunity. When you think of an ad as an employee and money as time, just give bad employees less time on the job, give good employees more time, and help them succeed. It's really hard to be in a worse place when you do that. I think every boss in the world would just run their business that way, but nobody runs their ad account that way. which makes no sense.
You know, in the notes I prepared for this call, I purposefully prepared my next point around growing from 0 spent per day to 1,000 spent per day, which is in itself not like the goal of any company. I mean, spending more, okay, but like why? And so you gave us like, let's say, a roadmap around this, like identifying your winner, let's say the hero product and the campaigns that go around, simplify it, amplify the business by reducing the complexity and allowing the machine to do the work. But on the other side, I would like to ask you the question, like, this is, let's say, in a perfect scenario where every action that we take moves the business further and increases the cash flow and everything is going well. What do you do and how do you do when things are not going well? Performance can be going down, maybe tanking. Like, what are the safeguards that you have? How do you deal with bad performance when it happens?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I do is identify where is the problem. So for a lot of people running ads, the beginning of February is always tough. And the end of June is always tough. And they're like, man, the last 30 days are so much worse than the 30 days before that. And like, okay, so you're comparing. We know that the end of January, beginning of February, historically around the Northern Hemisphere, buying behavior goes down dramatically. Because we just had 3 months of Black Friday and holiday buying and then Boxing Day, and everybody bought everything they were going to buy for everything that they needed. And now everybody's dumping money into the first big holiday of Valentine's Day and Super Bowl or whatever else going around, depending on where you are in the world. So unit economics just say we can't make the price of gas just went up. There's nothing you can do. You haven't made a mistake. So first off, it's to understand the context. If you've taken 10 steps forward and now you took 3 steps back, you're still ahead. The worst thing you could do is make a ton of changes so that when the wind shifts direction again, the day after the day after Valentine's Day and everything gets easier, if you made a bunch of changes and now your machine is way worse than it was when you started, as soon as the wind shifts and it's at your back again, well, your ship sucks. So it's going to be more difficult to get up to speed. So the first thing is understand what's wrong. And the easiest way of identifying that is everything in the business worse? Conversion rate, email, open rates, search, like if everything in the business is worse, I would highly recommend you don't make dramatic changes. If you do need to make some changes, maybe turn off your upper funnel ads. And I define that not by audience, but by what we call 4PI analysis. Spend, frequency, CPM, efficiency. Generally speaking, the ads that get the most spend have a lower frequency and a lower CPM and have a higher CPA because they fill the funnel. And ads that get less spend have a higher frequency because that by definition means they're retargeting ads. And usually they have a higher CPM because they're going to a more premium audience. And usually that means they're more efficient on the sale. So if everything looks bad, maybe don't do as much prospecting. Maybe you don't go knocking for new leads. You just call all the phone numbers you got. Nobody said you had to fill the funnel every day. Also, nobody said you had to spend the same amount of money every day. If you know the first half of February is going to suck, and the beginning of January is the best time of the year on CPMs, perhaps you define a budget for January, February, and March. I want to spend X amount of money. Well, maybe you spend half. If you were to make it each month is, let's say, 50,000. Maybe you only spend 25 in February and you spend 75 in January because you've just chosen to not play the game where you know you're going to lose. So I look at those things first. Now, if I identify that it is actually, there's something in the ad that's weird and something's going on and we're struggling, then I'm okay turning stuff off. I'm okay with doing creative testing. I'm okay with doing some other stuff. Also, if I find that Facebook itself is an issue, one of those things that we can also do is just be more aggressive on search. Be more aggressive on email. Pull cash flow cycles forward. Be more aggressive on sales. Like send 2 emails a day with buy 3, get 1 free offers, whatever it is. Don't discount one product. Make investing more just even more attractive. Because again, it's all about AOV and CPA. So if your Facebook CPA is going up or your AOV is going down, fix the problem by your media mix. All of that to be said, I still think as you scale up and scale down, the way the machine shows your ads, the way it shuffles the deck on how it's going to show each ad to each person will change. Mm-hmm. And if you're starting to struggle, if you have a very simple setup, like I talk about like the Olympic rings with like 5 different ads and 5 different 322 ads and then 1 campaign account, you're going to know that one of them isn't doing its job well anymore.
Là, Charley s'apprête à nous révéler comment il a passé un compte publicitaire de 500 à 4000 euros par jour et fait x3 sur un business en 45 jours. Je t'ai mis cet extrait dans mon groupe School, je te mets le lien dans la description. Allez, c'est reparti pour la suite de l'interview.
Basically what I was understanding from this and that I see more and more as I grow as a marketer is that like the thing you've done seemed to me like you applied like marketing and sales fundamentals to ads. Like what do the people see? What do the people want? What do they express? And how you analyze this. So it's like the solution has always been there. So the core principles never change. And let's not reinvent the wheel and just let the machine do the work for us. Which brings me to my next point, which is that there is this. I'm trying to make segues into points.
You're doing a good job. I like it.
Yeah, the future of marketing is evolving a lot right now. Like everybody's high on AI tools popping every day. I would like to know your opinion on like the how you would work differently, the tools you use, like let's say you automate, you use agents, do you create ads with arc ads on like Nano Banana? What's your opinion on that? Are you a strong believer, or do you think like it will maybe be a bubble? What's your opinion on that?
I think the value of any tool is in how it's used. Just like the value in data is how actionable it is. So I use AI a lot. I have a couple of AI tools that I've built. Actually, if you go to ChatGPT and you just type in Disruptor School, my business, you're going to see like dozens of GPTs that I've built over the years. One of them's a 322 method ads copywriter. And it'll write all of your ads for you. I think it's really good. I think it's better than most copywriters. It's definitely a lot better than me. I've trained it on some of the best people in the world. And you can also give it whatever you want. It's just very good at doing the job. And it's also language agnostic. So it'll write Japanese, it'll write French, it'll write German, whatever. Beautiful. I didn't know that. But somebody's like, oh yeah, I'm doing this Japanese tourism thing. And it just spit it all out in Japanese for me. I was like, holy shit, cool. Awesome. I had no idea. But that's because I'm not good at it. So it's the best tool for me to get leverage in the thing that I'm the worst at. I'm terrible at creative. I'm a terrible copywriter. I can talk to a brick wall and convince it to buy ice and whatever. I can do anything in that way. But so I use that a lot. I also have another tool that's a customer profile builder, where you can put in your market research, you can put in your customer reviews, you can put in ads from your competitors, stuff like that. Reviews from your competitors, and it will identify it'll create customer personas for you and identify what their interest is. And then you can take that and throw it into the copywriter, and then it'll write ads for Jack, Sally, and Michelle, right? Like, awesome. It's doing a lot of the hard work for you. Now, I don't know that I would run that in a business that's selling 100,000 a day, because they probably have that figured out. But if you can't spend 100 a day, it's probably really good. I've used Nano Banana. I use Gemini stuff to make stuff a lot. I think it's good. I've used Dark Ads. I think it's okay. I don't think the ad really matters. My honest opinion is that if you can only win because your ad is good, it's because your data isn't. Basically, a really bad ad in a really good system will make a lot more money than the best ad in a bad system. Facebook, or Meta, is a machine learning environment. It's a data science machine. It's an engine based on data. It's data first. So giving that AI the right tools to make decisions on your behalf is probably the most powerful AI that you'll ever reach. Like, the AI of Andromeda is the most powerful consumer behavior device. I mean, to be honest, truth is, I don't think anything can condition human behavior and tell people how to think and what to feel emotional about better than Facebook. I think a lot of people get a lot of opinions, good or bad, about a whole lot of things because Facebook told them. And they'll think it's their own idea. And it is. But it's this just bubble that people can create for themselves. And I think TikTok is good at it too. But I mean, social media in general exists because it amplifies who you are. So in that way, I think AI is really powerful. I think if you use a tool that gets a job of value done better than you can do, it's really great. I'd argue that the tools that I make for disruptor tools, between the hero product identifier or the customer journey tool or the GPT analyzer, a little bit of that is AI. Like, you give it stuff and it makes suggestions. Cool. I also think automation is really strong. I use automated rules on basically every account. They're free. But I think at the end of the day, a tool is only as valuable as its use. And I can think of really powerful tools in the hands of somebody that can't use it. Doesn't mean anything. Like, if you give a rocket ship to a kid just trying to play in the street, not going to do anything. Yeah, like, it's one of the most ingenious put together tools in the world. It goes to Mars. But give it to a 12-year-old just trying to play football in the street, they don't give a damn. It's completely useless to that person. So I think the tools will always get better. I think folks will always hunt for cheat codes. I think the biggest cheat code is actually just being good at business. If you're good at business and you identify your weaknesses, and then all you do is figure out a way to get something better than you to handle what you are not good at, it's very hard to not be successful, whether that's an AI tool or an employee. You should be the best person in the room at what you do and the worst person at the room at everything else. That's my opinion. Maybe not the worst at everything else, but there should be somebody better than you at the thing that you're not the best at.
Yeah, maybe like this.
Yeah, it's like caveat. I said before. So all that being said, I think the role of a media buyer has changed, but it'll always exist. People have been buying ads for hundreds of years. I don't think that's going away.
Mhm.
I think it's just about the application of the knowledge.
Talking about application of the knowledge, you'll see me. You'll see where I'm going. I would like to talk about the good success you have on school. I'm really impressed about the figures that you share on the schooler community. So with your school, you were able to achieve 25K monthly recurring revenue and a total of 36K cash flow while running no ads that you used to do, but now you are purely playing the organic game, and it's working so well. So first of all, congrats to you, and then tell us a bit more about that, because I think it's the perfect example of business applied strategy to your activity, and also how you make people better at ads inside of this school. So
Absolutely. So Disruptor Academy did that. And side note, also, Disruptor Academy is the front end to a high ticket training program. The 36K I did on cash flow on school was, I did a little over 130 in January with no ads across consulting, software, and the Meta MBA program. No ads on anything. And I did that as a point to just say, I went from 15 to 25 in a space of 45 days. And it was kind of putting all these principles in place. One of the things I found was when I run ads. So you see a lot of people running ads to their school or whatever. And they're like, oh, look at the money's going up. Yeah, sure. But what's your ad spend? And what's your churn? If you go from 10K to 50 and it costs you 60,000 in ad spend and everybody churns after a month, you lost money. In general, people who buy from ads tend to be less loyal than folks who buy because they found your business in other ways. In general, that's a fairly true thing, no matter what the business is. I found that when I was running ads, I spent 1% of my MRR. So and I did that from $1,000 a month to 12,000, 15,000. So I was spending 1% of MRR a day. So spending 30% of my recurring revenue to grow the business. And it was good. But when I stopped running the ads, when I was running the ads, my churn was about 80%. So 20% of people stuck around month to month, which is apparently not bad, not great either. But I went from 0 to 12,000 in 90 days. Great. When I turned the ads off, now my churn is 13%. Because the people who join want to stick around. And so one of the valuable things in that is, if you can earn somebody's trust and get them to pay you, it's all about the acquisition of cash flow, right? So if I pay to get attention, I make less cash flow from each customer, and it's more expensive to get them. Now I get fewer of them, but out of that 36,000, 0 in ad spend, versus my buddy Sam got his to 30,000 in MRR. I think he spent over 25,000 in ads. He's got the crown on school, but he made a fraction of the profit. And then another thing is, well, how do you keep people coming around? What's the best business model? And in school, I think the best business model is give people what they want. I think that's the best probably for a lot of businesses, right? So one of the things I did is I did a lesson every Monday, and then it ended with a poll. What do you want to see next? And I just built education products based on whatever won the poll. And I was like, oh, you guys want to know how to run a one campaign ad account or do creative testing after Meta? Awesome. Give me 2 weeks. I'm going to build a course. Everybody waited. I launched the course. 5K more in MRR. Because I gave people what they wanted. And then they told all their friends. And so I think that was such a better move than trying to tell people, well, I'm really smart, here's the thing, and then ignoring their experience. And then the other thing that I did was, well, two things. One, I treated it like social media. I'm on every day. I clear my notifications on a daily basis. So nobody has a message, DM to me, or notification in my community that goes unread. I personally go through everything every day, which sounds like it's a ton, but it's like 90 minutes. And like, if I'm going to make $30,000 a month, I got 90 minutes a day. Not a problem. I'll do that. Sure. I've made $36,000 a year, and I was working like 9 hours a day. Now I'm working 90 minutes a day, making that in a month, all day long. I'll do it. No, not a problem. So I think people really enjoyed the fact that it was me. And I think they could tell. And then the other thing is I removed access to me. So I was doing weekly calls with me, and I took those away. And I have students that have been through my high ticket training program that run ad agencies or do consulting and services. So I have them in the community as coaches that they probably agree with me on most things, but they also have their own life experience. So there's a well-rounded approach, and they're allowed to disagree. Like one of my coaches is like, hey, I do it a different way. I'm like, awesome. Tell people. Tell me what that is. Shoot, I want to get better. And so while there's an overarching ethos, you can get differences of opinion, and you can see how people who might be better than you disagree, so you can pick and choose what works for you, or they might think about things differently. It's not that one person's right or wrong, it's just how it works for them. But it also meant that I could change my pricing. So I went to freemium, so I made it free to join. At $147 a month, you get access to premium courses. For $11.47 a year, you get to join the VIP, which is the annual plan. And at that level, you get to send me a Loom, like a 5-minute Loom video of your ad account or your business, like every month, or 2 of them a month. And so instead of me spending a couple hours a week on camera, teaching calls, doing all this stuff to anybody, I give 20 minutes a week, 30 minutes to the people that spend the most money. Now, I've got somebody every week, 2-3 people every week jumping up to that 1,000 a month, like the 36,000 cash flow. 11 people over the space of a month jumped into the annual plan. Awesome. Now, Disruptor Academy, for those that are hip to lead gen, is a self-liquidating offer to the Meta MBA program. Meaning people pay me to be a lead to my $15,000 training program. So basically, I make it work. And you're like, oh my God, this is great. I want more. I want more. Or do you want to talk to me every week and have me and your stuff on a regular basis? Okay, it's 15 grand. I ran no ads. I closed 70% of my sales calls, and I did $100,000 in that, which was awesome. And now that's an hour a week, plus some one-on-one time. So what I did was, instead of trying to be everything to everyone, I gave everybody what they asked for, and then made premium access to me something that only people that were good enough to value the time could afford. And it was worth, I was charging less than it was worth. And I think my goal for the end of February is I'm going to hit 40,000 in cash flow and 30K MRR. My goal for the whole year is just to add 5K more a month in MRR and 10K more a month in cash flow. So by the end of the year, it'll be $1 million business, and I won't run a single ad for that. And I just put my content on YouTube. And one of the biggest wins was I just watch other people's YouTube videos. and I explain how it works, where they might not necessarily be 100% correct, and how to solve problems that they make. Like, this is going to work up until this point. Then it's going to fall apart. This is how you fix that problem. I know because I've dealt with 100 of their former customers, and now those people are doing better off with doing it themselves. Here's the fix. And that has been really successful because I think, unfortunately, in the space of ads, and I think it's not exclusive to ads. You also see it in banking in America with credit cards, and there's a lot of industries where the 80% of people that make the most money do it because they have very low integrity business practices. But the people who make the most money do almost no advertising and just do above board work. So if you're good enough to not have to cheat people, you tend to work a lot less and make a lot more money. So that's the plan, is I'm just showing the difference between me and everybody else. And every time I do it, I get their students to be my customers. And every time I drop the video, it's like, when I drop the video, it's like bing, 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 bing. Like, it cost me $200 to get the video edited. Although the reaction videos, it's me on Loom watching the video. I just hit stop. And then I just post the Loom. And it's unedited. It's raw. And I think people really appreciate that. I like the platform of school. I was doing it a lot of other ways over the years. I had a Facebook group, and then I was on Kartra or Kajabi and Slack and a bunch of other things. But I like school because they do all the billing. And I like school because they make there's not a lot of options. So everything is uniform. So there's not an edge because you're more aesthetically designing. And remember, I've told you, creative and copy is terrible. Put me on camera, I'm going to win. Make me have to do like good UX, I'm going to fail. The UX is not objectively not beautiful, but it's simple. It works.
Yeah.
And they have a user base. So I don't need to go out and find a bunch of people that are interested. I just need everybody on the platform to realize that eventually they're going to come to me. So let me just get them there faster. And that's been really strong. And I think that has made it really, really good. And the next thing I'm going to do is that 15K program. It's a one-time payment of 15K. And then it's like for 6 months. And then you can stay on afterwards. I'm going to make a limited version of it available for $1,000 a month. So now the premium, the VIP tier of Disruptor Academy is just going to be access to the 15K program. But if you want to hop on the live calls, you can pay $10,000 for the year. And then if you want to get one-on-one time with me, it's $5K for 3 one-on-ones, which is essentially dismantling the 15K offer. But now there's a free to $147 to $1,100 a year. And then if you paid $1,100 like 2-3 months ago, you haven't spent a penny. You're like, shit, I need more help. $1,000 a month is easy. And then you're like, why am I spending $1,000 a month? I could save money. $10,000 is easy. Oh, I just want this guy's help one-on-one. $5K is easy. So there's this very linear path. And so my goal is to work less than 30 hours a week and make $1 million on school profit by the end of the year. And I think there's absolutely no reason I can't do it. And I'm going to do it by sharing everything that I do. Because I'll post in school, like, this is all the shit. And sometimes they're like, this seems too promotional. I'm like, I'm just being very straightforward and honest. Sorry I mentioned my business. So I get a post in school that is flagged maybe once a week. But whatever.
Flagged because you promote and like actual figures?
Yeah. I think because I talk about like, oh, I did it on a YouTube channel. This is the video that did really well. Like I get too specific, and occasionally like it's looked at as like I'm trying to bait people or so, whatever. And I think Sam also really wants Sam Ovens doesn't want people to talk about making a ton of money. He wants everybody to talk about how they could get to 10K a month. It makes way more sense for him to have 1 million people making 10,000 a month than for 100 people to make 1 million. So me talking about, oh, I added another 15,000 this month by not doing anything is not necessarily good for his business goal. And I have to understand I'm in somebody else's sandbox. So just like our goal on Meta is to give ads that they want to show to people, my job in school is to be the best schooler and share what's working. I think the last post I did was I ran a promotion over the weekend. Here are the 3 emails that I ran. Here's how I ran it. And people seem to like it. So that's kind of the goal. Is like I do on YouTube, I'm just going to share how I do things. I think more than anything, what I'm good at is business operations and understanding the nuances of marketing. I think if I'm in a space where that puts me as better than most people, all I have to do is share and I'll help other people be successful. And if helping other people be successful means I don't ever have to get a day job again, awesome. I feel like I've retired. I'm like 41, so I'll take it.
First of all, I'm rooting for you to reach this goal of 1 million on school and be the best schooler. Talking about the post that you make on school regarding what you do, that's actually what originated our call, because you basically opened the door for this interview, which I'm grateful for. And so for the end of this call, I wanted to maybe summarize a bit what you said, also because you talked about your YouTube channel, your school community, and also the fact that you are present in the schoolers to share what you teach, what you learn. I would like to give you the opportunity to maybe share some words about some topics that you would have liked to talk about, anything that comes through your mind. So it's up to you, Charley.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I could talk about this stuff all day long. And so what I hope people get out of it is finding what you enjoy is a cheat code to happiness in life. And I think when it comes to making more money, what I've done is I've figured out, what do I get paid for every hour of work that I do? And I just eliminated the things that made me less money, just like I did with the ad account. Same exact principle. And then it just meant that I had more hours to do the things that were more valuable. And because it was more valuable, I got more people to do it. So when I show up for an hour in school, if I show up for 90 minutes a day and I'm making 30, 40, 50,000 a month, that's a good hour. I'll do that I'll do that twice on Sundays. Why not? So figuring that stuff out, I think, was really important. I had higher revenue when I was working 30, 40, 50, when I was working 30 hours more than I do now. I was working like 50, 60 hours a week. But I had higher overhead in my business. It was more complicated. It was more stressful. I was on sales calls all the time. I was running a bunch of ads. And so I've just gotten down to, I have a 3-person team instead of an 8-person team. And I just get to do the things that I enjoy. And I hope that people kind of figure that out. And I think at the end of the day, any idiot can make things look better by making it complicated. I think joy and success comes from making things simpler. But it also takes a lot of time and effort and expertise. So my goal for anybody is find a way to make things simple. And find the people that challenge you to be honest with the places that you want to be complicated. And I hope that Disruptor Academy on my school community does that for people, and my YouTube channel does it as well. And there is a confrontational nature to some of that content, because I want people to be very directly challenged on their preconceptions. Because I think if you're comfortable, you don't grow. So that's kind of where I think it's best, is that I hope you find a way to find joy in every day, plus find a way to embrace being uncomfortable. Because that does buy happiness. I don't care what anybody says. Like, as a guy, I was a heroin addict, and now I make $1 million a year. I'm happier now. So, for whatever it's worth, that's my experience. And I hope that everybody finds a way to put their head on the pillow at night, happy with their day, and wake up excited for what they get to do. I think everything else kind of works itself out.
Sounds like a plan to me.
That's just what I've learned in my 40 some odd years on the planet.
Thank you so much for these words of like hope and wisdom, and also for all the content of this now long interview that I'm super happy we could have. I keep finding like golden nuggets in the value, the insights you share on school or on YouTube. So I'll make sure to put a link to your communities in this content. And yeah, thank you so much again for this, Charley. Have a great day in the US. And right now it's time for me to go to bed almost.
Thank you. All right. Well, I appreciate that. I think my nanny's back home with my 2-month-old, so I'm going to go say hi to them. And then go pick my 2-year-old up from school and then get them both to sleep and shoot some stuff for YouTube. That's my day.
Yeah. Well, enjoy and catch you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Merci d'avoir regardé cette vidéo, j'espère que vous aurez appris un max de trucs au sujet de la publicité méta. Si vous voulez aller plus loin, je vous invite à rejoindre mon groupe School gratuit que vous trouverez dans la description. Dedans, vous avez accès à plus de 4 heures de formation à la publicité en ligne, à la communauté et à des lives questions-réponses pour tous les membres. Et j'ai aussi mis un extrait exclusif de l'interview dans lequel Charley nous montre comment il a passé un compte publicitaire de 500 à 4000 euros par jour et fait x3 sur un business en 45 jours. Je vous mets aussi les liens vers la chaîne de Charley et sa communauté School que je vous invite à rejoindre. C'était Gaëtan, à plus.